Good morning, Abraham.
It is.
And I love the way you present yourself at these gatherings. And particularly, I love the way you talk about us in a very flattering way. You refer to us as creators of the universe.
You are. You are that.
And I always thought you were just saying that to build us up, build up our esteem. But then recently, I just read a story about, indeed, we supposedly are the creators of the universe. And I'd like to know more about that. I'd like to know if you can validate that we indeed created the universe as we see and experience in our life today.
Not only did you create it, but you continue to do so. In other words, you have to understand that you didn't just start here in this physical body. Let's start with where you are right now, and then we'll work back a little bit, and then we'll work forward a little bit until you can get a sense of this. When we say you are on the leading edge of thought, we're not kidding. And the reason that we so emphatically convey this to you is because we know that all desire is born out of variety. So think of yourself, even in comparison with that which we are from our non-physical perspective. Think of yourself out here living the nitty-gritty of physical experience. And out of this well-stocked kitchen, out of this variety, you are living contrast that causes you to prefer. Sometimes full-blown desires shoot out of you, but often it's just a preference. Now imagine that instead of this genius human, you are a genius one-celled amoeba. And you are having your exposure to your experience. You are consciousness. And as this one-celled amoeba, you are having your certainly not leading edge experience, but certainly as the amoeba, you would be having even a different experience than the human in the underdeveloped country. We're wanting you to get the sense of this perspective, having an experience and the exposure to that experience causing preference to be born even in this cell, even in the cells of your body. So imagine all of these points of consciousness, whether you call it human or the points of consciousness that are in the human body, or the points of consciousness that are in the flora and fauna or beasts. And imagine each of these points of consciousness having an experience, and out of that experience, a preference being born. Now, it's a preference that is unspoken in words, certainly with the amoeba, but it is a preference that is being born. And in the moment that the preference is born, source energy follows that preference, because source understands that if every point of consciousness is selfishly choosing for itself, and source goes along with what it is choosing, that then the whole has to be benefiting. So every point of consciousness is selfishly wired to seek what is best for self. And source says, yes, 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 yes. So the expansion of the universe has come from that. So here you are. Now, of course, a lot of exposure to a lot of experience came before you came forth into this physical body. And a lot of exposure to a lot of experience came forth even before this physical earth amassed from the vibration of thought. First there is thought, then there is thought form, then there is manifestation. All that manifestation is the ability to interpret vibration. You see, where man gets mixed up with this is he wants to call this stuff of this physical earth something different than what it is. All it is interpreted vibration. And when you understand that all it is like the stuff that's in electricity that you've learned to harness through your ability to interpret it. You know, your eyes interpret vibration, that's why you see. Your nose interprets vibration, that's why you smell. Your ears interpret vibration, that's why you hear. You are vibrational interpreting fiends. So here you are, standing on this platform which you are interpreting, having exposure to experience which is causing more launching of rockets of desire, and source saying yes to every one of them. Thus, the expansion of the universe. We're not so much here to talk to you about that, because that's a given and it's inevitable. We're here to talk to you about your coming into alignment with the universe that you are causing to expand, so that in this lifetime, in this moment, you can experience the benefit of your creative endeavor. Do you know that there are generations that lived in this time-space reality before you, that lived in all kinds of contrasting experiences, that launched all kinds of rockets of desires, that today your civilization is benefiting from, but they never allowed themselves to benefit from it. They gave birth to them, but few of them allowed themselves to receive the benefit of them because they were so stuck in the vibrational patterning of what they were observing. This is the time of awakening. This is the time when more physical humans than ever before in all of created history will be able to find vibrational alignment with their own desires, with their own vibrational escrow, in their own time-space reality, and begin manifesting right before their eyes that which most previous generations took 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 generations before they came to the place of beginning to allow. So many people refuse to believe anything that isn't shown to them already. Show it to me and I'll believe it, seems to be the human cry. And we say, believe it and you will see it. And you say, no, I have to see it to believe it. So most people are waiting around for someone else to create and someone else to get into vibrational alignment with what they're creating. So manifestation in terms of deliberate creation appears to be moving along slowly from human perspective. We see it as perfectly unfolding.
There are some aspects of free will that I like to try to understand better. There was some guy who once said something like, not my will, Father, but your will be done. And that seems to imply that our higher self might choose something for us that we wouldn't choose for ourselves.
Here I stand in my contrasting place and I give birth to a rocket of desire, and Source adheres to that rocket immediately. So whose will is it? In other words, my contrasting life experience out here on the leading edge helped me, but can I separate myself from Source? You cannot. And so that which you are calling God had the experience with you and launched the rocket, but that which is God aligned with the new desire. And so if God's will is to be done, you better get up to speed with that rocket of desire, don't you think?
That helps. I've seen books written by people who claim to be enlightened, and what they say is that there really is no such thing as free will because the only will is the will of our Source.
Well, if we were going to carry that thought forward, we would say that the stream of well-being is so significant that you really cannot get away from it. And if you want to call that lack of free will, then so be it. The stream of well-being is so pervasive that eventually, you might have to croak to do it, you're going to reemerge back into pure positive energy. You are free to choose thought and offer a vibration. And for the time of the offering of that vibration, you will go wherever you have focused the vibration. And if that's not free will, we do not know how to define it. You are so free you can choose bondage.
But don't some of the things that I want come not so much from Source, but from the things we've been programmed with, like from television, the types of women that we find attractive, the types of cars that we like?
Yes, but that's where that free will comes in. You get to decide what you like. And Source says, you're on the leading edge. You get to choose for you.
Okay.
And Source agrees with your choices. That's the thing that you unworthy beings continue to not want to accept. What if I choose something inappropriate? We say, if you choose something that you think is inappropriate, you'll feel negative emotion. But it's not because it's inappropriate. It's because you've chosen to deem it inappropriate. Sometimes people worry. They say, Abraham, this is troubling because you're teaching everyone to selfishly go after their own interests. And we say, but of course, what else would work for the whole of everything? You say, but what if some really selfish creature wishes for something that would be bad for me? We say, he has no power in your experience. But if you see him as a monster and you worry about what he's doing to you, now you're doing it to you and giving him the credit. But he has no power in your experience. He has the power to make his life as wonderful or as awful as he chooses to make it as he widens or closes the vibrational gap between who he is and who he's allowing himself to be. But when you get in touch with your guidance, you realize that when you follow the trail that feels increasingly better, you're going to end up in connection with who you are. Oh, to view life through those connected eyes, food tastes better, girls look better, everything feels better, everything is better. In other words, eyes of connection are the eyes of God having this experience.
So when are Esther and Jerry going to start a dating service for Abraham couples?
There is a universal dating service already in place for you. We started it long ago. And what it says is, you cannot attract to you something that you are not a vibrational match to. So you've got to get up to speed with your own dream relationship, which means you've got to stop noticing that the relationship you've got isn't the way you want it, or you've got to stop noticing the absence of the one that you're looking for. You have to find a way of soothing that. You cannot feel angst about something missing and attracted into your experience, whether it's women or money or whatever it is. The vibrational relativity is the basis of your understanding here. And as Jerry and Esther are traveling from Phoenix to San Diego, there's no question in their mind how to get there. They know it's 400 miles, and they know they have to go west, and they know that if they keep a reasonable speed, they will get there. So they don't get discouraged along the way because they understand the journey. But if you're sick and you want to be well, and your doctor is telling you that there are no known cures for this disease, your journey is not quantifiable. If you don't have the money that you want, and you can't figure out the process through which the money will come, your journey is not quantifiable. If you have for a long time wanted a magnificent relationship, and you've had one terrible one after another, or a long stream of no relationships at all, your journey is not quantifiable. And the way you make it quantifiable, the way you make it understandable to you, is by understanding that when I think this thought about my body that gives me fear, I am moving in the opposite direction of what I want. But when I try to find a thought that feels less like fear and more like hope, I'm turning in the direction of what I want. And as I beat the drum that feels more like hope, long enough that that hope becomes a more abiding vibration, I've turned fully toward what I want. But since 99% of every creation is complete before I see any physical evidence, I am in the vibration, I am in the personal experience of having no physical evidence. And if I need physical evidence to shore up my hope, then I'm likely to turn around and go in the opposite direction again, because I have lost the quantifying part of my journey. But if I can hold to hope, and I can convince myself that it is better for me to feel hope even in the absence of evidence than it is for me to feel despair in the absence of evidence, then eventually that hope can turn to belief, and that belief can turn to knowing, and I will experience a healing that will defy anything the doctors have ever seen before. And they'll call it a miracle, and I'll call it a leading edge creation. I'll call it come into alignment with what I wanted. I'll call it doing something that everybody could do on every subject of importance to them. You just got to focus, but you've got to focus with a determination to feel better, not focus with a determination to find a thought that is interesting or a thought that other people agree with. You have to disregard what everybody else thinks about it. People will say, Abraham, do I dare find a thought that others don't agree with? And we say, if you want to create something new, you do. You've got to find a thought that others have not been thinking regularly in order to go to a place that others have not gone. So if you want to create a cure to an illness, you've got to have a different mindset. You can't look at the illness and feel defeated. That negative emotion is your indicator. You're not moving in the direction of your desire. Please return to the highlighted route. But humans say, I cannot go to a place that no one has gone before. And we say, of course you can. It's why you came forth into this body. You are a leading edge creator. You are living an utterly unique experience. Don't try to conform to the others. Be the unique individual that you are. Let your time-space reality and the nitty-gritty of your life give you birth to new desires, and then you line up with your new desire and be the leading edge creator that you came forth to be. People will say, Abraham, I think I should face reality. I should look at the facts. And we say, the facts are only the evidence of what somebody else has offered vibrationally. That's like saying, I see you created something you don't want by holding it in your vibrational patterning long enough that it manifested, so I think I should do it too. And we say, There is no logic in that. I should create something I don't want because someone else has done it. There are a lot of true things that you want, and there are a lot of true things that you don't want. And we would not let the fact or the truth of it be the criteria for our focus. We would let the criteria for our focus 100% of the time be, how does it feel as I'm focusing there?